right. Hey, I'm sorry for the stream before. I think I really had crazy too much coffee and I didn't eat. And that makes me kind of crazy then. Okay, as I said, I'm sorry for the stream before. And maybe still need to restart my audio card on my PC. Don't know what. Is this better? Oh, is this still this click sound? Not so sure. So weird. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry for the stream before. I think I lost my mind somehow. Let's just do piano. Okay. MIDI inputs. Reason, but all. Also, maybe, probably, yeah. So. All right. Let's clean out those templates. Funny. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Let's just play. Let's just play. I don't need to monitor. I'm probably gonna be talking or singing. Thank you. Yeah, it's much better just to do piano. The list stream I just did was a catastrophe. I think I really lost my mind. I had so much coffee today. I almost didn't eat. Like really, as if I really need to live cigarettes and coffee. It's really stupid. Need to get rid of cigarettes for sure. The coffee is not terrible, but really, if you are not a smoker, really just don't start. Today we are, not today, the last days. I'm trying to learn around midnight from Monk, and maybe we should read and give these other people also credit. Usually only Monk gets the credit, but the real book says also not too familiar with him, at least not by name. God, I can't read. Cootie Williams and Bernie Hanningen. Bernie Hanningen rings a little bit, but I don't know the other. We're gonna try to go a little bit through the changes, but also do mostly improvisation and articulation. Like the diatonic changes for the diminished six. I mix it a little bit up. I'm not also a master of music theory. I kind of try to Learn music theory in reverse. I started playing piano in my mid 20s. I'm 39 now. And the first 7, 8 years, I just learned scales, but I didn't look at sheet music or anything. And so when you do jazz, you can kind of, it's a little bit like guitar taps. You can kind of fake it a little bit if you can improvise a little and know your scales. But still, there's so much fragmented knowledge and fundamentals that I have to cover. That's why I quit on the last stream. I was playing the right scale, but I couldn't find the parent scale. And I was like, dude, either you need to go to sleep or you need to eat something or take a break or something. And then I thought, okay, make everything simple. Make the next stream just piano. Try to find some peace. Ideally, I shouldn't even talk. Is there should be, is there sheet music in Braille? I am quite sure that must be true. I thought there must be Braille in Cheat. Sorry, it took me so long. I was staring at the keys and didn't see the comments for a little bit. But I was sure it's probably very niche and not easy to find, and probably there's a lot of classical, maybe also some jazz, but I believe probably classical music could probably be found in Braille more easily than less common jazz pieces. Let me turn off this voice channel. Just playing some piano. I lost my brain earlier. I had this guitar riff, And usually I always start with keys, as you probably could guess. And I couldn't find the key. I found the blues scale. And then I realized it was a kind of mimicry of So What, so it was Dorian. And then it was should have been obvious, but it still took me like 15 minutes more to realize, yeah, that's the reason why that blues scale worked that didn't wasn't supposed anyway. Long story short, let's just play piano. And thanks everybody. I'll just try to play and hopefully it's not gonna be too terrible. But I am really like a one trick pony. This is why this template is completely empty. Just piano, like the title. I might stay on a little bit longer, but I realized the brain really didn't really come back. Oh, then not. Where is that now? Okay. So that's not quite the run that I wanted to do. What is this? It's a very common theme. It is going fours and fives. Not always perfect fours and fives, but diatonic fours and fives. And we have a couple of more because we mix all the other blues scales, minor modes. So we have A flat, oops, sorry. What's wrong with me, seriously? E flat minor, natural, the harmonic, and the melodic, sorry. And that way we could go and do some melodies. Lots of standards to this. It's kind of motion, circle of fifths kind of thing. We can get a lot of interesting tension notes when we use the diminished sixth scale. We have all these kind of in-between notes. I mean, we're almost chromatic. The way we could do a lot of stuff, really. And very quickly we can turn it into a blues, what it also is. It's something in between a ballad and a blues. And can do weird stuff. but less is more. Let's just play chords and let's try to articulate them not so unelegant, let's say, and just play octave melodies. Maybe with pedal. A lot can be done just with octaves. We don't need to have super busy flying hands. Octaves are cool, much cooler than one thing. Because obviously it's probably the right note, so it won't hurt to play twice. Might as well just be twice as good. I love these little things. Super typical melody, yeah? Now I came back. I had to shut down the stream because I was going crazy over not finding a certain scale. And then I really realized that my focus had already really passed. I hope I can focus too. That's why I completely cleared the template. Now it's boring for you, I'm sorry. Before I thought I would be producing, and this is my kind of everlasting crime. I am realizing slowly now, I may be a pianist, but I can produce, but I'm not a producer, I understand now. I really just want to play piano. And I haven't finished to upload a sample, which is also a joke. I recorded some stuff that could have been rendered, but I didn't because I got lost. And to not get lost again, I deleted everything. Of course, I have the other copy of that template too, but now there's just piano in here. So I minimized the chance of getting distracted and sidetracked with whatever. So just focus on this, whatever it's going to be. Hopefully better articulation and maybe some cool licks. That's not the cadence that we wanted. There's this little movement we hear so often. I just talked about that. It's kind of the beginning, but it's same like in Autumn Leaves, and in really so many pieces. This motion going through circle of fifths, like upper fourths, down of fifths, upper fourths, down of fifths, or the other way around. I'm not so sure now. Upper fourths, down of fifths. That would be one way, but I'm just super slow. But we hear this often in bass nights actually. Da dee da dee do, right? Oops, that was not right. Right? And with melody, we can do kind of same thing. We could use also diatonic fourths and fifths, or however we like anyway. Make up different pattern and figures. Let me turn off my microphone. You don't need to hear the click. I'm not singing or something. Like there's a million seams and figures that can be found. I think especially in this mixture, modal mixture of minor modes. If we think about some of them, like very often we hear these the melodic minor, harmonic minor, I'm sorry. It's some super interesting mode because it has this minor third in there. If we were to play the scale, say, starting on, I don't know, at a step before with a minor second, we can get some super cool tensions and then one or two interesting modes. So, like, we get the altered scale from an altered scale. Like, let's not get lost in terminology. I'm not even sure if Cordy always has the best nomenclature for these chords, but let's just say it would be the D altered dominant double flat 7 scale. Like, who the fuck cares? only thing that's interesting is that we remember the tension and the color of these intervals. That's all that matters. And I think it is one mystical mode. Kind of really has this super magic tension loaded. That's of course because we have this minor second in there additionally. Can do sweet things with that. There's other modes that we could use. Let's say maybe we do. Am I missing something? What's wrong with me? Is the note stuck or so? Sometimes the MIDI note is stuck, and then of course Quadi cannot spell it correctly. As far as it spells correctly. I was looking for the Phrygian dominant scale. That should be the fifth mode of the what? Harmonic minor. So we should start there. Quadi is going to call this yada 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 yada, Mixolydian flat 2, flat 6, or more common flat 9, flat 13. Forget all that. It's not so important. I believe the Phrygian dominant is probably more common name for it. There's also a couple of other Spanish gypsy or gypsy Spanish scale, something. Doesn't matter, but it gets used quite a ton, and I'm quite sure you're familiar with the sound of it. You can do, or Western composers abuse the scale when they want to do approximate oriental or quarter tone or microtonal stuff. Da 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 da, right? Like I think Arabian Nights is like pretty much really just going up and down the harmonic minor in this mode. Arabian Nights, da ba da ba da ba, da 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 da. Arabian Nights. Okay, I can't sing today. Maybe not just today. Doesn't matter. But yeah, if you want to do stuff like that, you can do that. And I'm talking again. I should mute myself. Yeah, but I think I might still be going to sleep. I'm a little bit more content because really the last 45 minutes of the last stream was really very chaotic. I checked a little bit and I was thinking like, damn, that wasn't so good. And I love that you can always finish these kind of things with this unresolved stuff. Like these chords just linger. Well, it kind of hurts. Like you wanted to resolve. That wasn't probably the best example now. That one I need to resolve. Hey, Recon. Okay, I'm really not doing something. No, you're wrong. But thank you for the kind words. Do you know Open Studio, Open Jazz Studio, or the Barry Harris videos? And I know quite some Twitch musicians that improvise all the time. And they do well, and they have repertoire, which I don't. I could just play this one over and over, but it may be less slashed. I like these super staccato, over accentuated little things. Yeah, but it would be better to hit the right notes when you really hit them hard. Little interesting textures that you can place, or just trills. I need to listen more again to Eric Satie. He has some wonderful trills that makes everything so unresolved. Really, just something like this. We play like we are in the first chord from Round Midnight. It's an E minor over D. We're gonna play it like as is, and then we go to G flat, and we just play a fast trill. I could listen to this forever. And then you can start playing with dynamics, phrasing, accentuation, and also especially how fast. We could make it really like super slow finger legato. Or doing a little run of these minor second trills. Hello there. Like, we kind of are doing that right now. It's been an ongoing practice for the last decade and a half. How I would go about practicing the piano? I would start with what is called like the so-called diatonic scales. So probably all start in C. I would try to learn just C natural, and it's because every parent major scale shares the notes with its twin sibling brother or sister, the minor scale, the natural minor scale, that lives either on the sixth degree of the natural of the major scale. Because if we count up from C, what is the sixth note in our scale? Must be A, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what happens if we start playing this note material from A to A and not from C to C? That tension sounds a little bit different now than if we had played the same notes in a different sequence. Because it is always about understanding, or it's only about understanding the relationship of relatives intervals respectively to one another, because they define the chord quality. Okay, long story short, how would I go about it? I would learn about chord qualities, learn how to differentiate it, like all the intellectual mumbo jumbo. Let's throw that out. This is our bass chord. It is a C major triad. Could be any triad. We play now C major triad. Let's put chordy into a neutral mode, so when you're new to music theory, you don't have to look at a key signature that might look intimidating. So this is our C triad. Another fancy word of just saying this chord has 3 notes. Nothing special. In this case, C, E, and G. Let's play just the first 2. That is a major third. What does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It is just a random word. But what we want to recall is how this interval sounds. We will count the interval distance from our, what we will call root. This is where we say, this is the harmonic center of our music that we want to play. It could be anywhere else, but we feel like today the vibe is C. Okay? So then I would play them all together again and maybe leave out the middle note. What does this interval sound like? Okay, this is a perfect fifth. What does that mean? Also, just another word. It is defined by from our home key to our fifth note. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in between. Like, and also that counting, like, that will stop, hopefully, because your hands know better and your ears definitely do. So we're gonna play C major. Let's modify this chord. This is our bass chord. One of the most important things I started to learn, I think too late, is that while these interval patterns of course do matter, at first it doesn't seem very intuitive, but this chord or these notes we could arrange in any sequence. We might be changing in theory some of these intervals, but they do sound the same. Why do they sound the same? Okay, let's play C to C. And let's now play a fifth. So we could think about it, this sounds a little bit different than this, but still, one is an interval of a fourth and the other is the interval of a fifth. So we can kind of start to connect. Interesting. They kind of sound different, but they somehow still sound the same. Because in reality, the relationship of these notes didn't really change. It is a complementary interval, and still, that's mumbo jumbo. Let's try to use less words and do it more iteratively by try and error or going from our bass chord. They say like C or a major chord. We all feel however we feel, but I think one of the more general description is like it feels happy, stable, grounded, yada yada. Let's move the inner voice down half a step. Now we have C minor, because the quality interval, the one that kind of lets us distinct the chord quality, is our third. Or another way to generally think about harmony, they love to call it stacking thirds, right? Like, this is the third note in the scale, and we play kind of every other note. Like, if we wanted to, we could sit someone who never played piano on the piano and tell him, hey, don't worry too much. If you want to fake jazz, just play all the white notes for now. Leave out every other note, stacking thirds. And with your right hand, you can play pretty much whatever. But then we let him say, okay, shift this pattern up and down however you like at first. And that way, that person will be able to make a kind of instant Zulu. And we're basically really just running up and down the keyboard. But I think what is most important probably to try to understand is the relationship of an interval and the quality it will create. And to understand that every note is kind of every note. It doesn't really matter. Is this C minor? Because that is D minor. That's just the same story in an ever so slightly changed. I'm missing the word. Shade. Like, it is same but different, but also not really different, you know? These are all just root position minor chords. Without context to harmony, it doesn't really matter. We could do every tune in any key. The only thing that is important is that we keep the relationship of the intervals intact. So we are creating the qualities that we are looking for. So let's look back at our C major chord. So this is our C major root triad. If you want to fake jazz, they will tell you, hey, add one more note. In jazz, you usually hear what they call seventh chords. Why? Because it adds the seventh note in the scale. We're like, hey, come on now. We just had only the white notes. In jazz, they like to use a major sevenths, but they also like to use minor sevenths. Quite simple, especially when you hear blues. Let's just move the inner voices a little bit and look at what chord he's telling us like. This is called C7. You see this is on jazz lead sheets all the time. Yada yada, A, B, C, D, E7. It is also kind of short abbreviated for dominant 7, but really, let's not think about this because we have heard this quality forever, because I'm quite sure you kind of know these 12-bar blues things. And that's already, you all know the sound of dominant 7 or C7 or whatever. You know the sound very well from all the blues in the world. And we could also then do the same thing, like I said earlier. Every power and major scale has a twin brother or sister. That is pretty much universal. Like you can have a major blues scale that is a C major blues scale. If we are trying to abstract it from its key, we have the root, second, minor third, major third, the fifth, and the major sixth. That is the major blues scale. That's all there it is. And we could play it anywhere, and it will pretty much sound the same. And same like with the major scale. If we started at a different place, we get the other note. So let's start our note material on the 6 again. To not play the major blues over our C dominant, we're gonna start is at the minor. The minor blues scale. And then we can also run some minor licks over there. And I messed up. That's not too bad. Let's forget all this blues trilling. Much more interesting really is these harmonic stuff. So this is a 7th chord, okay? We could use this one, doesn't matter. Let's start modifying the voices, creating different intervals. Or maybe we go back to the triad, it's better. This is our root triad. We lower the inner voice. We get a minor chord. Let's lower our top voice, which is a perfect fifth apart from our root note. We get a very interesting chord, or chord quality. That is a diminished chord. A diminished chord is a pretty interesting funky chord. It is a symmetrical chord. Because let's go back and look at intervals. Let's define this. A major chord is the sum or combination of a major third plus a minor third. A minor chord is the sum of a minor third, yes, you guessed right, the other way around, plus a major third. A diminished chord It's just second minor thirds. That's why you can create. And if you are not in a harmony, say you play a diminished chord, when you play inversion of the diminished chords, every note is really every note because, like, yeah, it's symmetrical. It doesn't matter where you are, really. You could go forever. And I'm missing something, I guess. I'm slow. I'm slow. There's something else now. Terror demonstration, I think. Really can go up and down anywhere with this because you can't really allocate the root note to it. But what's more interesting about that is also it is just a color. Think of all this. Really forget all this fancy terminology. All these things are just color. Like painting, really. If you want something to feel kind of happy, or however you define this for you, like we don't have to go deep into semantics. Like if I eat ice cream and it makes me happy, and you eat the same ice cream, you will have a different perception of that ice cream. Like we will both call it chocolate or vanilla, but still we won't have the identical experience of it. Our bodies are different, our ears are different, whatever. But these relationships, let's say we continue our journey trying to distinct between these chord qualities. This sound of a major seventh. Let's forget the C even. Just gonna call it abstracted. This is a major seventh. Kind of open, nice, floaty. Or yet better, I could break it up on like because like one of the first and best harmonic exercises I would probably do is try also mechanics. Ears are important, but the mechanics are too. I would try to practice block chords and also those as arpeggios, like broken up, not all played at once. Maybe sometimes with pedal, but also it's a very good exercise to play finger legato without. It's not super interesting, but it is kind of functional harmony. It kind of always works by default because that's kind of like just how nature works with the harmonic series and overtones, which we mostly stick to because I mean, like the piano is kind of a little bit of a cheat. I'm not the deepest nerd, but equal temperament is kind of somewhat cheated as far as I've understood it. If you think about perfect tuning, a piano, equal temperament is not perfectly tuned. It's not a cembalo. You don't need to retune it for every key that you want to play in because it is a compromise of maybe I'm not the person who should maybe explain equal temperament. I don't want to confuse you. What I would do trying to play piano is trying to understand, yeah, this is maybe the most important one that helped me the most. Understanding that this chord, no matter the order, inversion, or voicing, are maybe these are the two words we should probably remember. It doesn't quite matter how we arrange these notes. It's just important that we do have these notes. When you play with two hands, does one hand kind of do the background thingy, Not necessarily. That is due to the lack of my hand interdependency. If you see more advanced musicians, classical pianists, and jazz pianists, is when you look at kind of like stride piano and whatnot, you will find them have the most crazy syncopated bass lines and spread voicings and whatnot, going counterpoint. But I can do super complex stuff. I can play stuff that's kind of sounds pretty. Like I can do stuff like, but exactly as you say, like my hand is kind of stationary. If I have played something more often, I could go through some arpeggios that are a bit more rhythmically interesting, but I have a hard time playing something like, you know, I kind of need to look. Then really, it would be better to look. Hold up, where we are. When you practice your, probably both. And that's also why it's very good to practice slow. And kind of sometimes it is more easy because probably we have gotten used to our muscle memory in a certain tempo that we feel kind of comfortable in. Sometimes it's easier to practice faster or at that tempo we feel acclimated to than a slower tempo. To really play something slow, you really find problems in articulation, but it's the best possible thing you could do. Like, and I would also stress, trust your hands and trust your feeling. You will be surprised how fast you can actually start playing if you play slowly with closed eyes. And actually, I believe it is very good practice. This is not to show off or anything. It really helps to build this mind muscle connection and that you can start to visualize the piano in front of your inner eye. You want to be. And then also, you're not distracted. Your brain does not have to compute the visuals, you know? You have more resources for what matters. You can try to be really more precise with articulation. You can make up weird little figures because you wouldn't find those if you play in real time, you know? In real time, we will resort to what works and what we've done before. And also, it does not necessarily matter, especially like when you think, okay, it is about the mechanics now. Would be good if I'm not absolutely missing the notes, but how do I really feel it? Especially if you have a good keyboard to that is with graded hammer, so increasingly the force that you need to play increases, so you're better with your dynamics and trills because it really is hard to do anyway. I think it's one of the hardest things to do on a piano, to have good articulation and control over dynamics, especially playing fast and soft. That is probably what will distinct the master from the intermediate. Like listen to Howard Horowitz as a classical example. Listen to Billy Taylor. So many, like the list is long, but articulation is not just a word. You can hear different touch. Like on guitar, it's easy, also from the tone and others, but like you can really tell quite fast that is that guitarist. But on the piano, it's much more difficult. Sometimes some people will like certain voicings, and then you will also maybe sometimes realize that, or they are always at the same studio, and then you recognize the sound and all the accumulation of things that lead to that. But say all these recordings were made at the same place. Very good pianists, you will be able to distinguish by the touch they use and how delicate there was that. Think like, especially going to the other spectrum, not that he didn't have the touch. Thelonious Monk, who we are trying to learn this piece from, he had the most extraordinary, interesting touch. I mean, like, he is one of the most talked about jazz pianists of all time, and for good reason. People of his time have had kind of mixed feelings about his actual musicianships. Probably people who are just envious. At his time, some very soulless critiques, I believe, they said he was lacking the elegance and whatnot. And I'm just like thinking, dude, you've been there. I wish I could have listened to that man live. Yes, sometimes he maybe likes to hack it, but not because he cannot control it. He's so bored with the general sound that he will also play a lot of minor seconds, and he can do whatever he wants. He's Monk, you know? And especially with Round Midnight or his other ballads, you can really hear how distinctly different that can be. But probably still, and I think, except for some super, super nerdy, talented, and crazy practicing jazz pianists, maybe those that have transitioned from classical music, they might have that. There's a couple, for sure. And also, not to say that jazz pianist touch is bad, but you can find the best touch and the most control and technique, obviously, in classical music concert hall. These people are insane. Like, really, listen to Howard Horowitz. If you've listened to a couple of what he plays, a couple of renditions, you can absolutely feel every single note. It is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of control over really, especially when you play, not an arpeggio, but if you play a block chord, I don't even know how that is actually physically possible. How can I play a block chord and really control the dynamics of each voice? Because I'm thinking, if I play them all simultaneously, they will be all struck simultaneously, meaning the velocity is the same, means the dynamic is the same. But for some weird reason, some super nerds managed to somehow. I was watching a video from a classical pianist 2 weeks ago, and he showed a technique how to. It was about finger legato, though, but still the same principle. He wanted to show how in very fast passages you kind of have to move your consecutive finger that will play the next note. You kind of, it's like a canon of voices. Like while you play the first note, so the velocity is not as crazy, the finger for the second note also already starts descending. And like, seriously, that's kind of crazy. I'm happy if I can make something first kind of harmonically sound, and then later I worry about making it rhythmically more interesting. Try to kind of take one problem at a time, because I know I'm kind of already at the limit of what I can do with this piece at the moment, because I really need to work more on my left hand separately, as well as spread voicings, where you are sharing chords over both hands. Especially in jazz, you have that a lot, at least for solo piano, when you're comping for yourself, because you want to or need to play a bass line, but also you want to use your whole instrument, and you don't necessarily, not that it's a bad sound in itself, but there's so much more instrument and playing block chords kind of, yeah, kind of automatically makes it so that one hand often is stationary and the other one is doing melody runs. But it can work. It can also get boring fast, but it's a good start though, I think. Probably one of the first things after that done is trying to appreciate it. It will also not be a dramatical change, but first we learn a little bit more hand interdependency. And also, especially when hands don't move together, we are kind of also forced to learn to play without looking at it. Because, yes, most of the keyboard I can see also from the periphery of my eyes. Like I can see it from the corner of my eyes, but not super well. Like if I tilt ever so slightly to the right or to the left, one of my hands is not visible anymore, and that will happen anyway. So it's good to try to get used to it. Don't underestimate your hands and ears to probably start playing with closed eyes sooner than you might think. Because most pieces will be in a tempo where, if you do faster music, you don't even have to be super advanced. As soon as you kind of build a little bit more muscle memory, you can play faster than you can look. And you wouldn't really believe, like you could go super slowly through this blues scale, like, and then you go increasing the tempo, and sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Like da da dee da 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 da. You will be able to play that very fast. Like, let's say, that's maybe good exercise. We play C minor 6 or any minor 6, and we play the blues scale of that key on top, the minor blues scale. And then you start to get bored, and that's very good actually, because nobody goes up and down the blues scales, and especially not legato. And you will get bored with this. But you realize, damn, I didn't look. It's so good. The feeling, the first time you play something and realize you did not look. Seriously. This is one of the best feelings I ever had in my life. Because then you know your mind and your brain and your hands have understood something probably more deeply than you know or would want to believe. And there I slipped a little bit. I wanted to move my other hand, and I wasn't prepared for that. And I wanted to really play a fast throw. Also, don't be over obsessed. Match the energy to what your body and mind is ready for. If you're not in a fast state, play slow. Just play just play nice. And the piano will play nice for you. And this is what I probably need to practice a lot. It wasn't even a big jump, but I thought I would be going somewhere else. It's kind of the bigger the jump that you do with closed eyes or without looking, of course, the harder it gets. But if the intervals are not as big, you will be surprised. Okay, now I'm looking again. Something. Sorry, I lost kind of track of the chat. Do you think it's achievable to become good when I just learned by myself? Also, most good pianists started when they're kids, and I'm in my 20s. Then we both are in the same shoes. If you think this is good enough, well, then I guess, sure, of course. I think, of course, if you're a kid, you can always learn faster, but I'm a late learner myself, and I've been trying to do this with YouTube University, some books, some software, and I think it is very worth the journey. And also, it doesn't matter because, like, will I play ever like Art Tatum? No. Will I play like Oscar Peterson? No. Will I play like Herbie Hancock? No. Does it matter? No. What matters is that you get to the level where you can express yourself. Don't need to be like super virtuoso. Because actually, most of the stuff of my playing that I like most is not stuff where I could look flashy and do like. It's more stuff where I maybe really have to look and sing, and I'm like, I'm really waiting for this tail of the reverb, and I'm waiting for all the sympathetic resonance in the instrument to build up to hear more of the overtones, because it will maybe give me an idea of what octave I actually really want to hit. So many things. Play with your heart. But I know how it is. I was asking myself that a little bit, but at first also, like, I wasn't thinking about trying to do music more. I just got it was just trying to always play more. First a hobby, and then an obsession. Still a glorified hobby. It's not like I pay any bills. Yet the opposite. Jazz is probably not for the musician that wants to pay rent. It is a matter of the soul anyway, so don't worry about starting whenever. I absolutely. So, long story short, TLDR, yes, it is very possible. Just get yourself a nice piano and have fun with it. Because it is the best thing that I believe I could do. I don't know what I would do if I didn't start playing piano. I probably would be drinking a beer now and um, watching Netflix or just smoking some weed. Not that I sometimes don't, but I remember a couple of years back, I quit smoking weed for a little bit because I was mad at myself because I couldn't replicate some runs on the piano. And then I stopped a little bit and got back to my normal memory. And then I realized that often, even when improvising, I could memorize. Maybe I couldn't instantaneously play what I had just had played, but I could recall it and then I could reconstruct. And very often I'd be able to. And that is kind of priceless. A little bit high now, but who cares? So, long story short, yes, please do play the piano and enjoy it. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I don't know what to do. We will just play. Just makes me happy. But I need to sleep soon. I started to talk a lot, and I just wanted to play piano. That's why this stream is called Just Piano, and not me babbling like I usually do. And that takes away from the music. I really need to cut that out. Sometimes when I had too little sleep, too much coffee or whatever, or just feel like it, I think I need to be super funny or entertaining, but that's not right. I mean, it would probably preferable if it is also somewhat entertaining, but at the end of the day, I'm not a comedian. I want to make music, and I want to share music and maybe share music theory on how I experience it and share that with anyone. My job is not to be a jokester, but to learn to play and make music better. That's it. And that's why maybe for the last 3 minutes, I will mute my microphone again, because if I have a lot of muscle memory, I can maybe sometimes play well enough and hold up a conversation. But in reality, I don't feel the playing, and the playing kind of sucks. I have my sister's old piano. I don't know if it's good at the old one. Acoustic or keyboard? I never use, but I prefer a plan on shading it. I'm really excited to start learning, hopefully. Yes, try to make it, maybe if you can, a ritual as a meditation. And you will find that it won't even feel like you're cutting out time to do hard practice. You will look forward to as a relief from the heavy studying that you are already doing. It's not that you then have to squeeze in time for practice. You get to practice. It's not a task, it's a reward. Like, of course, sometimes, like, say, I really want to zone in on the articulation and I want to work on my articulation with triples and doubles. Like, if I do this for 15 minutes, yes, of course, that feels like work. But if afterwards I get to, that was really bad, but you know where I want to get to. It's not that you have to think of it like it's going to be even more work. You will find very soon the piano will do a lot of beautiful things for you. I think it's a mixture of meditation, prayer, of course, making art, but really just floating with these melodies. It grounds me. I understand and I can listen better. I could just do these two. Okay, maybe I should look. You will find it is really, especially if you're studying something super tough and maybe not at exciting, practicing or studying piano. And maybe I would refrain then from calling it studying piano. Like, that sounds intimidating. Often it is the connotation that we have with stuff semantically that is the problem, not the thing itself. It is our bias and our expectations and our romantic, absolutely non-justified ideas about how something might possibly be and could potentially feel like. It's all just speculation. Leave all these thoughts and just think, hey, I like playing piano. There's cool. My sister got that thing. I'm just gonna noodle that. Like, we're not doing anything. We go mostly through all sorts of voicings of E minor, sometimes a little bit more true to the theme of Around Midnight. But mostly we're just looking to improve on our feel and textures, get a little couple of licks here and there, and find interesting chord and scale approaches. Like, it doesn't have to be some weird kind of science, because it doesn't matter what this chord is. This is a diminished 7, 11, sharp 11. Who cares? Nobody cares. Not even your jazz nerd friends care. Not really. They want you to play nice swing time, funky, groovy, with feel. Because there's a lot of music out there that is technically on a very high level that I don't appreciate. Because I feel often it is lifeless drilling away. And sometimes even worse, maybe just showcasing the right technique. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit green eyed. I wish I had maybe better posture, maybe better technique. Maybe I wish I had the privilege of have had early education in music and have studied piano on a Steinway grant with a master music pedagogist at the age of 4. Sure, that probably would have been advantages, but maybe it could have killed the spirit, I don't know. Just try to find ways to express the music that you do already enjoy, because I think this is the best practice maybe even yet. Don't like look at theory too much. Pick a couple of songs that you like, find out what key it is, then you will locate, even if you feel like a caveman or a woman, where's this goddamn scale? You will find your scale and you will keep your recording on loop. And you will eventually, you will find a lot of stuff that will be fitting with the music that you hear. And the more that you do that, you will start and mimic and take from then, and then you sometimes won't find the exact melody, but you find good other complementary melodies of your own. It will be beautiful. Enjoy the journey. And I should enjoy the journey hitting the stack. I like these kind of Eric Satie kind of trills. I wasn't so happy about the last bit. Anyway, we can't always be happy. But we learn. And that's good enough, you know? Yeah, but you will build and get more used to. And actually, really, I am not a good reader. Um, I'm a very slow reader, but don't worry too much about these symbols. After a little while, you will be able, it's like in cameracy with nomenclature. At first, it looks like super annoying, but there's a kind of really straightforward system to naming chords. And that way, E minor 7, flat 5 will very soon do not sound weird or sophisticated anymore. It will be one of the most standard chords that you will probably play. Like, what would they say? E minor 7, flat 5. It could be, I don't know. This is what now? This is E major. But like, you could find stuff so fast. So what's the minor 7, flat 5? It's a minor chord. We got our root, a minor third. Then what do we need to do? We need to make it a diminished part, because what happens in the diminished one, there's our flat 5, because it says, please do go to the 5 of this scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then turn that 5 into a lowered 5. And a flat 7 or 2. So we get this. A minor 7, a flat 5, and that's the sound. And then we can shift it to somewhere else. But really, don't worry about this. The cool thing with jazz, I think classical music is really intimidating because the amount of data that you have to look at in jazz, they kind of just give you the ingredients. They tell you, hey, okay, you know what? This thing starts on E minor 7 or E minor slash D. Okay, this time it's kind of oddly specific, but in reality, in jazz, very often, a chord symbol is a mere suggestion. You will choose how you want to play this chord because we could play it like this, but who's to say we can't play it like this? That is exactly the same note material. And if we wanted to, we could even change notes in there. I think, like, because, yeah, why not? You know, just be free. Be free, enjoy it. And I talked too much already again. I think I need to go sleep. Oh, damn it. I messed up my run. Or we could do something super simple because simple is always better, you know? You could just play locked hands. That means both hands kind of go in unison. And we are not doing anything fancy. We play a minor chord and put the octave on top to make it a 7-note chord. And then we just lower the top voice and go down, 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 down. And you have all heard it's will get used almost in every piece of music. At least that's what it feels to me like. I can, if I had a penny, you know the saying, if I had a penny for every time I heard this 4-note chromatic word, dum, dum, bum, 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 I'd be rich. Seriously, like say, we're going to play C minor, like we had before. Let's do the same trick with the C minor, yeah? Let's always just, we're gonna keep the top third interval, right? But we will go, might sound familiar. Let's hop into a different key, doesn't matter. Maybe you're gonna pick a minor chord, maybe major chord, doesn't matter. Da, 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 da. Very often you hear this also like in this umpa resonance. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Alright? Sorry, that was tasteless. And we all heard this like, I don't know, seriously. I think probably one of the more complex things I played, like, I'm married to the blues, and I think it was something, a mixture of learning summertime, and I just played these first two chord changes. Like, I had this little rhythm that also reminded me of Hit the Road Jack, and that also reminds me of this chromatic walk down last time. And actually, it looks more like it something is happening, but actually, it's not. Or this kind of supposed to be fast. And then it's like, at first, I just do, it's pretty much the same in the right hand all the time. I'm just changing the rhythm pattern. At first, we break up this chord going to the top root, and then we play the bottom half, and on the other way, the other way. Or we don't even need to do that. We could really be like, hey, whatever. You make up the figures how you feel like. Okay, that was really, 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 really weird. The last ending. Let's not call it an ending. Let's follow the advice that I heard from. It was really good. I bookmarked it. I need to put together a playlist of all the amazing YouTube videos that I watched over the years. Okay, not all of them, that nobody has the time. But some of the more obvious channels. Because if you got questions about music theory and piano, there's a very good chance that I could refer you to a channel that is the resource where I was stealing that from and only have that half baked anyway. But long story short, what did he say? He said, you don't have to, okay, kind of elaborating on this. It's not exactly his words. I kind of consider this a piano or music series self-help group. You know, or really just this, trying to see how can I make this play the same thing but make it sound better, and thinking about, do I want to play a block chord here? Do I want to play a ruled arpeggio? What is my accentuation pattern? Do I want to play pedal? There's so much. And then it gets super exciting because I exaggerated, of course, like that didn't belong, obviously. Or we could make. could go from a slide down to a jump back. So we have a legato in between, and we have staccato again. So many, some like really just trying to find whatever we want to hear again from the happy accidents and trying to play what we hear inside but haven't found on the keyboard. That's kind of the idea about it. Trying to get as close to the sound we hear. And very often we may be not that certain what it actually is. Often it lingers subconsciously, but I'm quite sure many of you know this feeling, like you have not a set mind, like when you improvise or when you do songwriting. You are not fixed yet on how you want to play, but maybe for some reason you know, okay, like I call it like the fourth core sickness. It's often super easy when you have a shorter progression. You have three chords that are just always working like bread and butter, but for some reason you can hear it, or maybe you even know the chord, but you can't quite find the right inversion for whatever reason. It's so funny, but when you then finally find that chord, you know when you have found it. And yeah, and the other way around. When you play something like, or you maybe slip and you think like, hold up, I didn't want to play a trill, but god damn, this trill actually has some feeling to it. Let's do this again. Maybe we meant just to play one of these notes, and we just slipped. These happy accidents are the best thing that can happen. That's also why there are no mistakes. At least how I like to look at it. Yes, absolutely. First channel, Open Studio. I think they have multiple channels, but Open Studio is probably one of the go-to places I'd look at. Then also all the Barry Harris videos. There's a channel that is called Barry Harris Videos. That is probably the most interesting channel because there's a thing, I think oh my God, my hands are itching. I'm sorry, I was lazy typing. There's this theory concept from Barry Harris about the diminished scale. The diminished scale also, yeah, super fancy, but what is the diminished scale? The diminished scale is a 8-tone scale. It is nothing different than having a major scale and playing one more note to make it an 8-tone scale. And what note might that be? Well, it's the note in the name. We will count up to our 6th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we will play it diminished by half a step. That is our additional note. So now our C minor scale looks like this. And don't worry that Cordy calls it something else. Cordy will call it the major bebop, which is not exactly wrong, but Barry Harris goes really, really deep. It's almost like a religion or a philosophy at that point. In bebop, and I'm no authority on bebop, I can't play that fast for the life of me. I don't have the hand interdependency. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen in my lifetime. There's one more, Kent Hewitt. Is this Kent Hewitt? I think it's Kent Hewitt. I hope I didn't butcher his name, otherwise I'll let you know next time. He has an excellent channel. He has taught at Berkeley, and he is a super dope and funny, jazzy guy. He knows what's up. But there's so many more. Like, I have a list of, I don't know, Also, piano with Johnny. I could go on and on and on. But I wanted to get back to what I found has been the greatest help. That was learning more about Barry Harris, diminished sixth scale. Like I say, it is an eight-tone scale. We will ignore that the spelling is major bebop. We're gonna be calling this the diminished scale, diminished sixth scale. In bebop, this additional note, or like in blues, it will get used, but often it is a slight tone. It is not really a tone that is an integral part of the harmony. But on contrast, in the world of Barry Harris and the diminished sixth scale, it is the essential one. You build your diatonic chords. In bebop, you are not building diatonic chords in that. You have that for chromatism, for approaches and slide notes and whatnot. Like, I'm playing a C7, I'm using mostly the blues scale, and the blues scale also, we are using that trill. Like, the way I like to look at it, okay, I don't want to confuse you too much with terminology, but every note in a scale, every scale degree also has a name. We can kind of forget about the name. It's not that important. Maybe just remember one name for now. The seventh note in a major scale is called the leading tone. And it's called the leading tone because its interval is only half a step back to the tonic. These minor seconds are very tension loaded and automatically pull us back into our harmonic center. Like, we are kind of uneasy. If you will find exercises where people say do soufflage or sing along with it and try to stop on different intervals, and then you will feel how comfy you feel stopping there. Could go like C, D, E, F, G, A, B. First off, this is not quite my range, but I have a hard time stopping on this leading tone on the seventh because I'm longing to get there. I want to get back home. If we look at the parallel natural minor scale, that can also be found if we go, like I said earlier, use the same note material, we go up to the sixth step, and if we now play this pattern from A to A, we get the natural minor scale. But what's missing if we look at the seventh step of the natural minor scale? The resolution is not as great because the natural minor scale, our home key does not have a leading tone. We have a whole step and not just a half step. The way I love to think about the diminished sixth is it introduces the leading tune into our parallel minor. It is creating help for better voice leading and harmony because now we can play more diatonic chords. Say I play C major diatonic chords, no diminished sixth. Yeah, it's all nice and dandy. But with this idea about easy harmony means I'm stacking a third, be it major or minor. Or let's think about it differently. Not stacking thirds, necessarily, but skipping every other note in the scale. Now let's look back at C major bebop. We're gonna call it the diminished sixth, right? Okay. Let's try to build our first chord by skipping every other note. At first, when you have played usual diatonic scales, it will look super weird because the hands are actually more confused than our ears. Because, like I said also earlier, this chord does not really change if we change the order of the notes. Let's put this A down an octave and leave it out. What do we get? We get a -7. Isn't that interesting? So we can kind of try to think about it. Same like C major and A minor are brothers and sisters, sharing the same notes but having different feels. They have a different flavor because the interval pattern shifts, like we could just see, because the interval pattern is not the same. Because if we go from, in the major mode, if we go from 7 back to 1, we have an interval of half a step. But if we were to do this with a natural minor, we go from our 7 to our 1, we have a different step. These intervals have changed. So the tension changes. But what we can now achieve is by introducing this extra note. Our ears are not worried about this, but I knew how it was breaking my head. When I tried to kind of do my diatonic exercises like da 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 da, you know, what's good practice. When I started to try to do this with this A-tone scale, I stumbled and stumbled. I knew what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear this. But also at that time, I couldn't look away. I really had to look all the time. But it's also where I try to encourage, trust your hands and trust your ears. Because they do often know better. We tend to over-intellectualize stuff and create problems out of thin air. But when we are now playing our changes, like I say, it does create a leading tune in our minor mode. And for me, it helps with creating so many more interesting chords, especially really voice leading. Also, like, really just this one more note. It's insane how much more color this has. Say I want to play super mindless. I will play the C major diatonic chords without not too much thought, but plain white notes. Right? It's okay. It's not crazy bad. And I could maybe try to be a little bit more elegant with it too, then it's not as terrible, right? Or we could already maybe start thinking, okay, let's do something maybe a little bit better. Let's make some spread voicings. What does that mean? We are going to break this chord up. How are we gonna break it up? We're gonna break it up in two hands. One very common thing that you will find, for instance, and I think it's always good practice to do it in all the 12 keys, yada yada. It is called drop two voicings. What we want to create is we want to have a bigger chord and use more of this instrument, but still play something simple, but sounding more pretty and less closed in, because let's be honest, this sound gets old real quick. So what we are going to do first is we will invert this a little bit. Already that is a good exercise, but also at the same time, what does it do? Well, we can hear more colors of the same chord. They're not too different, but third inversions sometimes tend to work better. Or maybe you are drawn more to a certain version, because I'm quite sure you all know this. Let's go back again to C major, right? Um, this is C major. That sounds weird, right? I'm trying to look for something. I'm going to invert this one time, and then I'm going to hop about some of these diatonic chords. And I believe once I have arrived at the right voicing, I will instantly find what I'm looking for, because it has been engraved, this voicing for this tune. I don't think that's the voicing. Let's try again. I'm still not so sure. Not so sure still. Maybe that's not the voicing. I'm really not trying to make a point here. I'm trying to find it. I don't even, it's at the tip of my tongue, but I can't even say what tune I'm looking for. It is a super standard soul classic. Oh, now. Ha 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 ha. We found it. That's the voicing. Na, 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 right? If we hadn't gone into finding the right voicing, yes, the chord was the same, but I could never hear this tune in a much different voicing than in this inversion. I can hear Bill Withers over this. No, right? And you find the inversion that you like. Let's go back to our other idea. Where was my mind? Yeah, the spread voicings. Say again. We want to play a bigger chord, but don't make life complicated. We will try to play only the bass in our left. Maybe we double it, maybe we don't, however we feel. But first we need to find the drop 2 voicing for our chord. What does that mean? Just drop the second highest note of this chord. But before that, because we are in root position, I want the root note, our C, to be the second highest note. So I will invert this chord into that inversion where our tonic, our root note, is the second highest note. Now I will copy this shape with my right hand and will get comfy hopping about with my right hand. But what we actually really want to do is, now we want to put this bass in here. Right? And I'm doing something wrong, I think. Let's do this again, I guess. C major 7. Okay. So we had a little practice with our right hand. Okay, let's lock these hands together. Let's try to play a bigger chord. I mess up a little bit, but I think you get the idea. Same thing applies also with the diminished scale and whatnot. But coming from these a little bit more vanilla chords, or just really a scale exercise, and I can't stress this enough. Scale practice is fun, actually. And try to make practice, especially scale practice, try to make it musical. Try not to be stuck in super rigid practice. I mean, sometimes it's good to be absolutely rigid. If you want to just work on basic fingering and mechanics, okay. No accentuation, metronome, slow, simple, stupid, but neat. That's good start. But until you slightly get comfortable to have a good grasp on what it sounds like and where these notes lay so that you don't have to observe your hands all the time, it is very important to start making scale practice more than just scale practice, because we can play really like, couldn't make always all sound the same, or we could try to be more lyrical about it and try to think about it. Yes, maybe it's not the greatest composition, but we will try to make it sound musical. We could have also done, and that isn't fun, right? It sounds like there's a mechanical thing that is like with no regard to feelings. We don't want that, because in reality, probably if we wake up and we hear a tune, we or imagine hearing a tune or are stuck with a tune, we're like, no, hey, da da do da da day. We already have subdivision. We are not 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not gonna happen ever. This is how nobody feels about music, I hope. So also like this. This was muscle memory. I just got excited and then I was just hacking this. Can it be done? Yes. Could it have context? Yes. But would you start like that? Maybe not. Probably, if we were to start on this chord, probably go more like, and not. Because how undelicate is that? The no introduction, just bam! I wanna be introduced. We might kiss later. Who knows? First, we need to get to know one another. You see, that's the bullshit that I was talking about earlier. This is why I shouldn't even have a microphone. Now I'm trying to be funny again, and that means I need to go to bed. And really taking your time and sometimes just stopping somewhere and abusing stuff. Maybe, especially if you already have something in the grasp, try to take it apart more. Maybe you know, yeah, I can play, I can make it sound nice, but let me make something more interesting about this, so you will always challenge yourself. I could always play something like this. But I think I need to make it better. How can I add more texture, interest to this? Can I come up with maybe interesting patterns of accentuation? will try to create problems for my weaker fingers. I will do like, I'll try to play without pedal, and I will use anchor and pivot points, and I will kind of do something like, also really forget all these names. Only thing that's important, your hands and your ear and your mind can recall. There is a thing that's, I think, also good practice, but like Alberti bass. What does that mean? Nothing special. Let's take C minor. It is going just from the root down. Let's use a different minor mode. Let's do that. And maybe we will change in between from maybe an expression that starts like. And here we are again also. You must know I'm married to this mode. Just listen to it. I'll try to shut up and just play this again as a slur of all these notes and just how they ring out the tension of all of this. I could listen to this forever. I don't get tired of this. Obviously, probably to most, this is not super interesting. But this is how I try to make ear training. I think it's actually one very good practical thing to do, to start understanding modes, to play in a maybe not so low register because it gets matty real fast, but maybe starting from here, try to listen to all the modes with all the notes played together, like harmonic minor or a mode of it. And also, it doesn't matter in what order I play it, not really. Let's take a different mode from that. What is that? I think I messed something up, I guess. How is it that it wouldn't spell a chord with that? Am I mistaken? Maybe there is no name for it. It doesn't matter if it exists or not. Any collection of notes that you adhere to, that is your scale. A scale is just a collection of notes. I try to play legato and I try to actually be tidy, that I really, really stop the note when I switch to the other, to have them connected but not overlap. There was one very good advice I heard one time, I think also was a classical pianist. Most of the great technical advice is usually from classical pianists, like as I said before. And very often, if it's a jazz pianist, he has a classical background. Not always, but almost always. It also doesn't really matter where it's from. It's that you can use it. The origin doesn't matter. And I lost my train of thought. I think it's getting late. What's the clock? I probably shouldn't know. Yeah, I should sleep, I think. Anyway. doing a lot of muscle memory, but I also try to play pretty. It's a mixture of both. I have no idea what just happened there. That's like, we didn't need to look. We all know this chord doesn't belong. And that's fine. But sometimes I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I'm quite sure I misplayed this chord. I heard something else, or I know I slipped. I had a different intention. But sometimes, like, could it work? And how could it probably work? It's, it's an interesting game, you know? That's pretty random what I do right now. If I do play this right now, or if I can play something from you, Laurie. And also, funny, I haven't heard that name in a long time. And back in school, I actually initially had pretty great aspirations. I thought I would be disciplined or nerdy enough to study medicine, but my GPA, it wasn't bad, but it was not good enough to get entrance into med school right away. Like, I live in Hamburg, Germany. We have a little bit of different system. I mean, also, of course, you have to have certain kind of grade, but like, mine was good. Like, it's like 4.0 is like best. We have it the other way around. Like, if you have a 1, that's the best possible note, and if you have a 6, you have failed. And later, then they allocate like 1 plus is 15 points. They have a 15-point system, and I had, what was that? Like, I had 2.0, which equates to, I don't know, 12 or 13 points, 12 points, maybe 11. I don't know. It was good, but not excellent. And if you're not excellent, you can kind of wait for med school. So funny that you say Hugh Laurie. No, what I'm actually playing at the moment is, yeah, that's where I was about to get to. I loved Dr. House. I finished school in '06. And at that time, there was still a lot of Dr. House. I believe I kind of probably quit on the very last season somewhat. But the first 2 or 3 seasons are really pure gold. And I still can hear the score, kind of. I remember the score. I actually really like the score. I never tried to play it though. But also, I don't know. I know that he is a pianist himself. Actually, I mean, can play, but he really is funny. I'm quite sure if you're familiar with House, and even if you even know that he actually can play, then I'm kind of sure that you must know Fry and Laurie, which I discovered long time after I've seen Dr. House, when I was more interested in looking what he had done else. Then I discovered this older British, super classical, black British humor, sarcastic. And there was one bit I still can be in tears if I watch that. It was Fry and Laurie doing a Shakespeare masterclass. It is hilarious. These two are silly funny. But no, actually, what we are playing, kind of butchering, as I like to say, is we are kind of playing a little bit of Around Midnight. Just ever so slightly. I just got these notes. Fry, like frying. The show was called Fry and Laurie, so both their last name. I think the first name was Stephen Fry. But it's like the show was called Fry and Laurie. And it was Shakespeare. A Shakespeare masterclass. Maybe I have that bookwork somewhere. I could also look, but very often when I open more programs, especially something resource hungry like Chrome, my computer lags down a little bit. But actually, I might really want to find that. Give me a second. I'll send you a link in a little bit. Fry and Laurie Shakes. Yeah. Like I didn't even have to type all of it. It is like, let's watch that together, I guess.
Hello, good evening.
Hold up, forgot to turn on audio on the desktop. One sec, it's too good. You don't need to see me. That shit is hilarious.
Good evening and welcome to the...
It's too good.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the third in our series, Shakespeare Masterclass, An Actor Prepares. Last week, if you remember, we were concentrating...
Oh, sorry. I didn't see that you couldn't see. Let's do this again. One more time. Then a little piano, and then I should just sleep. Or we might actually finish after this masterclass. So I get to say class dismissed.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the third in our series, Shakespeare Masterclass, An Actor Prepares. Last week, if you remember, we were concentrating largely on the body. Well, tonight it's the turn of the voice, and we'll be doing some vocal work. And for that reason, we're very lucky to have with us in the studio this evening the fine actor Hugh Laurie. Hello, Hugh.
Hi.
Hi. Hugh, have you prepared something for us this evening?
Yes, I have. It's a speech from Troilus and Cressida, 3-3. It's the Ulysses speech.
That's the Ulysses speech, TNC 3-3. That's on page 39 in your new Penguins, if you'd like to follow here in the tent. Hugh, first of all, before we start, what I'd like you to do is, I want you to imagine, Hugh, that you're like a racing car going round a track, all right? Now, there's a video camera mounted on top of you, so we're all going to get a view of the track, and later on, of course, I'll be taking your engine apart, piece by piece, oiling it, putting it back together again. But Hugh, before I strip you down and oil you, Hugh, what I want you to do is give us all a good view of that track, all right?
You mean read it?
Yes, read the speech if you would. Hugh?
Yes?
Why are you squatting?
Oh, sorry.
I don't think we're ready for that yet, are we?
No. Time hath, my lord, a wallet at his back, wherein he puts arms for oblivion, a great-sized monster of ingratitude.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, isn't there, Hugh?
Yes.
All right. Shall we start, Hugh, by having a close look at the text, all right?
Yes, well, I've got this raging debate within me, and the debate seems to centre upon women seen both as victims and as power brokers.
Yes, can we shelve that raging debate, Hugh? Well, we may come back to it later, but for the moment, let's put the raging debate to one side, because we've got a lot of work to do. And I want to concentrate, Hugh, on the text. What's the word, Hugh? What's the word, I wonder, that Shakespeare decides to begin his sentence with here?
Time.
Time.
Yes.
Time.
Yes.
And how, I wonder, does Hugh decide to spell that word? Does Shakespeare decide to spell it in an unusual way? What's the way Shakespeare decides to spell it?
T-I-M-E.
T-I-M-E.
Yes.
And what kind of spelling of the word time is that, Hugh?
Well, it's the ordinary spelling.
It's the ordinary spelling, isn't it? It's the conventional spelling.
Right.
Right, so why, out of all the spellings he could have chosen, Shakespeare chose that one, do you think?
Who makes this shit up?
Well, to give us time in an ordinary sense.
Because he wanted to give us time in a conventional sense. So, Shakespeare has given us time in a conventional sense.
Okay.
All right, but he's given us something else, hasn't he, Hugh? Have a look at the typography. What do you see?
Oh, it's got a capital T.
Shakespeare's T
So
very much
genius.
uppercase there, isn't it, Hugh?
beyond
All right.
words.
Why?
Because it's the first word in the sentence.
Well, I think that's partly it, Hugh, but I think there's another reason too. Think. When do we spell words with capital letters?
Oh my God. Well, if they're important.
When they're
or-
important, when they've got an abstract sense, what I like to call an abstract conceptual sense. So, Shakespeare has given us time in a conventional sense, and he's given us time in an abstract sense. All right? Think your voice is ready to convey that, Hugh?
I hope so.
I hope so too. All right, give it a go.
Just the one word.
Just the one word for the moment, Hugh.
Oh my God.
No, whoa. Hugh. Hugh, where do we gather from?
Oh, the buttocks.
Always gather
Sorry.
from the buttocks, Hugh. All right. So, gathering from the buttocks. What went wrong there, Hugh?
I don't know, I got a bit lost in the middle, I think.
All right. Not to worry, because what I want you to do now, Hugh, is I want you to take the word time, and I want you to start adding some of your own feelings. All right? Some of your feelings of ruin and folly and hopelessness and despair, feelings too of triumph, feelings of hope, feelings of love, feelings, a sense of Troy falling and a sense of hope of Troy rising. All right? Feelings of jealousy, envy, and covetousness.
Ambition?
No, leave ambition out. So, gathering from the buttocks, off you go. Time! Much better, Hugh. We made tremendous strides. This is very exciting work. I'm very excited. I hope you're excited too.
Oh, I am.
You are excited, Hugh. Good. And I hope everybody else is excited because this is about the most exciting work I've ever done, Hugh. All right. So now let's consolidate on it. All right. Let's build. And I want you now to read the whole speech using what we've learned. Gathering from the
Okay.
buttocks. All right.
Hath, my lord, a wallet at his back. A great size monster of ingratitude.
Oh my God. Maybe I could have left them had their applause, but I mean, I'm quite sure you can imagine they got quite the applause for that bit. And I really do admire the humor and the wit, and a lot has been demonstrated in this little piece that really also relates to us. Yeah, sometimes I do like to nerd out, but I really always love to stress the more practical approach because that matters. This Shakespeare masterclass, sarcastic bit from Fry and Laurie, they really accentuate how these self-important, over-intellectualized, tight, upstuck, self-entitled. There would be a million words. I'm quite sure you know where I'm getting to. This is exactly the way that we try not to be and go about art and piano. Being with the nose up, I don't have an equivalent. You know, people that think that they are just better and that speak with a very distinct manner of a well-situated background. They have probably had wealthy parents. They are not just wealthy, they have class. They know better. Not just about anything, about everything. Semantics? And in what word did Shakespeare choose to convey the word time? Yes, in the conventional time. Like seriously, it is crazy. I don't know who of these two madmen has written that one line. How do you make this shit up, seriously? And please tell me, out of all the possible spellings he could have chosen, yes, the conventional type. Like seriously, it is not normal. And exactly this is what I like to also critique about approach to anything always. Yes, it's good if you know maybe a little bit about academia, but really, it's a stupid fucking game. If you can play that game, great. You have a good memory for words, yay. But can you actually really use it for a real purpose that brings some greater value to yourself or others, making you happy, more relaxed, soothed, relieved, or sharing the beauty that you can create with others? Or is it just so you can feel like you are the smartest guy at the cocktail party, or that you just can entertain people with all the wit and wisdom and great culture that you have acquired? You know? Because I was kind of, I'm not rich, but I had pretty good education. Like you might have realized that I like a lot of words. My sentences tend to be kind of super long. I mean, I love words, but they are just words. We don't need to use them all. And also, we want to be understood most of all. The greatest books, I'm quite sure these authors, their vocabulary puts mine into shadow a thousandfold. A good author is not there to demonstrate he knows the dictionary better than you. He will paint a picture and a color for a reason, not just to impress you with his vast knowledge. That's all bullshit. And a lot of art, unfortunately, happens that way. And what is also interesting is it is also a lot of virtue signaling. Because if you can show yourself with people of class or whatnot, you know where I'm getting. Do not try to do this with music or with anything that you do. Do it because you want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, only do it if you have to do it. For existential reasons, like you need to make ends meet, you need to pay your bills, you starve, your kid dies, whatever, something fucking real. Not, I wish I could be seen there, I wish I had, try to find your purpose. I'm still looking. At the moment I'm thinking it's this. Can I pay my bills with this? No. So I need to kind of do 9 to 5 or so, But I will pursue this because any 9 to 5 will probably not really add much to my own life, except the food that I have on my table, of course. Not that that would be neglectable, but you see where I'm going, right? I hope so, at least. I don't know why I had to do that. I wanted to do that as an exercise, but it didn't even fit and I played it badly. No, seriously, like literature was my first love. Music, I always loved music, but I really never considered music till my mid-20s. Like we did some Zulu rapping like in the youth, like listen to some beats and freestyle and cherry spliff and we're giggling. We're like still going to school, but that kind of ended. And I thought I had a point. That's why I always say I shouldn't talk and play piano. tend to lose the focus for both. Oh yeah, don't get lost with hyper intellectualizing your music. I know it's true. It is not always true, but maybe I understand. Like I love jazz, but I understand many people that have, let's use another fancy word, bad connotation to jazz because they have realized some, or not maybe even so few jazz musicians, or maybe not the musicians, they sometimes do. They are elitists. They think they are so superior because did you know jazz is the most harmonically complex music in the world? These kind of assholes. Don't be one of them. I used to be a chef without training, and I've been unemployed for a longer time that I actually feel easy to admit because I feel really right now I'm on farewell, and in Germany it's not as terrible as in maybe the US. We have a pretty good social state, and it's not like I'm trying to leech on the state or whatnot. I actually really want to get back and work, but I also have some family issues. Taking care of my elderly father, whom I love, and who's very prideful and stubborn. And as you can possibly tell, I don't look exactly German, so the age and all these circumstances add up. Also, before that, a lot accumulated. Like, I've been unemployed for 3 years, trying to get back. I think a week ago I tried out the gardening job or so, but that was so far away. Like, I'm considering going back into hospitality service, but that kind of is a very destructive way of living. At least for me, like, yes, I can be disciplined, but let's say I was drinking not too few alcohol. Like, I don't think that I'm an alcoholic. Definitely not anymore, and certainly I never have suffered any kind of visible effects. But for a very long time, and I've been chefing for a long time, more than a decade, or at least almost a decade. It's a fast life. Burning the candle from both ends isn't smart. I tried studying in between, like I said. At first I thought I was gonna do medicine. So I applied, still while doing full-time hospitality. Started studying chemistry and philosophy, but I can't actually say that I really tried to study. I was kind of interested, but mostly I wanted to mute my friends and family that told me, hey, Abdallah, it's been quite some time. We know you didn't make math school, but don't you think you could do better than flip burgers? I was like, yeah, I've been thinking too. Maybe I'll do this warm-up study, because chemistry was the part that was probably the one subject that I forgot most of, and I thought like, hey, I'll just study chemistry for half a semester to freshen up on my chemistry skills, and then I'll take the entrance test so I can get into med school with the additional credit of a good test, that is. But then I just lived my life. I partied a bit. I didn't prepare as I told myself. And after 3 or 4 years, my sister forced me to take that test. And that kind of never happened in my life. There were like 300 or 400 people taking that test. And I think I was maybe the first person to hand in their test. And not because I aced it, because obviously the opposite. The only other time in my life when I turned in a paper first, I knew I aced that paper. And I just gave up because I know I can't sit here all day. I won't know what I need to know. And then I realized, did you know you have been married to this idea? You think you wanted to study medicine. It very often doesn't even matter what it is. Sometimes we do have true reasons, but there must have been a reason why I did not really prepare for 3 years. Because right now, I don't get any money for this piano, but I really want to do that. I keep coming back, doing the same stuff over and over. I want to get better at this. Listening for this, I'm really chasing this down. That's why many of my streams are called Chasing the Chance. Long story short, what am I doing now? I know this piano, try to find something that is not sucking too bad and makes it so that I can have enough time to not just pay my bills, but also really have the time to work on this kind of ongoing crisis that probably many of you hopefully are not familiar or not suffering from yourself, but age is a factor that is not really spoken often about in Western society. People like to act like they are there forever, yet families get more fractured. There's more divorce and more single elderly people that are kind of alienated or don't have any relatives anymore. Long story short, most people that are somewhat older or not working anymore, they get lonely fast. Sometimes the kids don't even visit. And if you have people you love that need help, try to help them as fast as you can, but also take care of yourself. Don't try to be a hero. I don't know how many papers I've been handing back and forth with authorities and whatnot. Like, it's a fucking nightmare. I'm kind of really considering going back to chefing because you can always find a job as a chef because nobody wants to fucking work as a chef. Not really most of the time. I feel like I'm a little bit oversharing. So yeah, long story short, what am I doing? I'll play some piano and try to make something out of that while finding something that helps me to pay rent. And still have time to look after my father and meet with friends, and of course have enough energy left for piano, because that's also the thing. I really just want to do this. This is also why I cut the other stream. I really want to just practice piano lately. Sometimes I like making beats and boom bop, but really just only in this year. In absence of something more meaningful or a real application job, probably I like to play basketball. There was another job that I was considering. Like, I used to play basketball. That's also kind of also how I got to playing the piano. I broke my middle finger playing basketball, and my mom gave me an old Casio keyboard when my grandpa had passed away, and she knew I liked piano, and she said, "Hey, you can have this. I know you like jazz. Didn't you say you might like to maybe start learning the piano?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? I could also do," because that's still this time where I was thinking like, yeah, maybe next year I'll prepare for the entrance test. I was thinking like I could use this as a rehabilitation device, like physiotherapy. And I actually really got to playing piano by trying to fix my broken finger. I had a broken, strong middle finger. You know, the waving finger. And then I thought, hey, you like the blues, right? And then went onto YouTube and was like, where's the blues scales? And I saw like, okay, it's just 7 notes. Maybe I can figure this out. And I stuck with it. Kind of. But I had a couple of variety of jobs. I also did some call center jobs. Like in Corona, I was still, like COVID-19, I was still in hospitality until you couldn't work anymore. And then I switched to an office job that was for all these vaccination appointments. They needed a lot of staff to help with the logistics. And then I applied for a call agent job so I can work from home. That passed, of course. I worked with my sister who learned, I don't know what's the right word in English, like plastering of walls with clay. Like, more Asian kind of building types. You find them a lot in Germany. It's called Fachwerkhaus. Unfortunately, I don't know how to best describe it, but it is a mixture of architecture. You have visible, or very often, visible wooden frames. They use bricks, but from the inside for insulation and whatnot, they use a very traditional clay and earth technique. And you can do a lot of crazy, interesting stuff with this kind of building. And there's quite some houses left in that style in Germany, especially in the upper north area. And there used to be also some floods years ago when the river crossed after heavy rain. And these houses are like often not Asian, but also another word that I'm missing. Like English is not my mother tongue. There's this thing that's called like, how I'm gonna, architectural sites. It's a vague translation. Architectural sites that, or landmarks that have become like kind of historic figure. I think there's kind of some vaguely, if a building or something has been built, I don't know, 120, 140 years ago, unless it is kind of like a safety hazard, very often it will be, they will try to conserve that. And these houses need restoration. But also on the other hand, this building technique, I need to look up the right word in English. So, because I think there must be an English word that's equivalent, and I don't know if anyone is getting what I'm trying to describe. Building walls with clay and earth. If you know Claytech or something, you probably have an idea. Or if you know about, anyway. But I've been considering maybe see, as I told you, This is the same realm. The rammed earth technique is something in particular there, or a technique that gets used there too. Sometimes, but often that's more for building structural walls. Like they will probably start by building a wooden frame or a frame of what kind of ever, pure in the material, mostly sand or mixture, and then they will pound that either really manual labor, or if it's a bigger project, they will have commercial hydraulic pressure hammers that will condense it so it is really stable and you can build higher story buildings. But that's not what we did. We were more with not we were not doing walls that carried. We were kind of fixing the isolation of these walls, because like the integral part of the structure was held up by the wood frames, columns. They were either orthogonal or horizontal, and also sometimes diagonal. In between you have the brick, but from the inside of the brick, when you're in the room, usually maybe just some places they let you see the bricks, but most of the inside usually has it covered in this mixture of clay, earth, and hay. It gets mixed, and it is a perfect building material that is excellent isolation. It is pretty cheap. Also, after a certain thickness, it does have some pretty interesting beneficial health benefits to, or for the climate of a room. They absorb some particles somehow. Like I'm not a chemist or a biologist, so I couldn't exactly say. But more so for the room climate. It has a very good capacity to store heat or release heat. So you have this kind of best of both world thing that you find in many of these rural areas. Like you have it so that it's preferably cooler when it's too hot outside, and you know what I mean. Really interesting thing. I have to look that thing up, what it's called in English. I should know. I must have forgotten. But I think it's already like 2 o'clock and I need to get up in... My mind already starts going half German and half English. Sometimes I believe that I would be actually almost a native English speaker, because sometimes I actually do think and sometimes dream in English. And actually, probably I'm speaking more English than German. But that is only due to me hanging out all by myself most of the time, unless I go to the supermarket, to the basketball court, or to my dad. And usually most of the content I consume is in the English language. Because I've found if we are researching stuff very, very often, the greatest quantity of search results is English, right? So, also I used to be an exchange student in 11th grade. I stayed in Houston, Texas for half a year. That's why I have this funny mixture of accents. Some German, some UK English, some bad pronunciation and mumbling, and some Houston. H-Town. Who is Mike Jones? Who Mike Jones? Okay, that is not really fitting, right? Da, 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 da. Or also was good exercises. Give your fingers a challenge, like say. I was raised rather religiously, but I kind of consider myself. I had a time when I thought like I'm agnostic or an atheist. I have a bit more of an open mind. Like I'm not esoteric, but I'm somewhat spiritual. I'm very happy that I have been raised rather religiously. I wouldn't necessarily always recommend this. I think I was kind of still pretty lucky. Like, I wasn't forced to do anything. But I think growing up with a firm moral compass in this world today is a good thing. When you're very young and before you can really think. I love to say later, like, the Ten Commandments should be a logical coincidence of being human, of understanding. The existence of God should not be required for you to understand why the Ten Commandments shall very well be right in any kind of context, if God is there or God is not. That's not important because, like, if he is or if he isn't, he, she, whatever. Consider an energy or whatever, it doesn't even need to be there. Like, a behavior like that is probably desirable, and it's also what you would want for yourself. Because, like, do you want to be stolen from? No. Do you want to be killed from? No. Does it make sense in of itself? Yes. Could it help some people to find it more meaningful if they think they are commanded by an entity? Maybe. Does it take away from it? Not really. But I think the biggest problem is, that's why I'm also often sometimes very hesitant, or maybe I act like I'm politically correct. Depending on context, I might even say I'm agnostic, or yeah, probably I wouldn't even say I'm an atheist anymore to anyone. First off, I don't believe that. And I think that also is stupid. I think if you want to be that intellectual asshole, you can call yourself an agnostic, because who the fuck knows, right? Do we need to know? No, but still, let's try not to rape, murder, and kill one another while we're here. So, like, live and let live. I try not to poison this planet and have some joy, spread some joy, and I wish everybody did the same. It's kind of simple. It should be. In theory, that is disregarding the lacking moral compass that has been ingrained and conditioned by anti-capitalism in this world, making people isolated from their core beliefs and what they probably intuitively know is all good and well. It's also not just a coincidence. It is also not just the fault of the human condition. It is a problem of the distribution of power. Humans are inherently very easily manipulated. And the only true law that has ever been accepted, we can all act like we would be as civilized as we appear to be, but truly, only the right of the strongest, not like I say that it would be good. It's still quite the animal kingdom, right? We are just some funky monkeys. And I wanted not to curse, but I think it's appropriate. The only right human, or probably any organism, has ever accepted is, unfortunately, force. we act like we have become humanists and philosophers and whatnot. Yeah, maybe some of us, but the ruling class hasn't. And with the how do I say this best? Unjust distribution of wealth, when people are in objective poverty, dying of famine, other things happen that are also pretty bad that are not controllable anymore. And that's why I think a moral compass from a religion could help, because if I would have been born in a different time zone, maybe even this country, boy, oh boy, oh boy, I'd have a big problem, right? Maybe even geographically. There are some places in Germany that I wouldn't want to be, looking at the latest election results. Like, right-wing assholes are rallying everywhere. And it seems the time when fascists try to hide their true intentions, or crooks or anyone really, has long passed. I remember times when these people at least tried and actually really tried. I agree with that to some degree, like, or not, or totally, like all kinds of extremists. Like, I'm obviously leaning more towards the left, but I still consider myself center. Anyone who wants to force their values onto others becomes probably a fascist, I guess, by default. So if you have the moral superiority, but you say the means or the goal justifies the means, that defeats the purpose, because, well, yeah, if we try to create world peace by brutally forcing everyone and diminishing the population left and right where people have objections to our going about it, well, that's probably just what the fascists did, right? But people are very easily led astray from their mission because they are so desperate to achieve it. And then they think, you know what? I know I mean good for the world. Like, for instance, seriously, think about it. All these dictators, like true dictators, like real horrible people, I am convinced in their heart they were not thinking about themselves as evil. I'm convinced they really believed they are doing it for the greater good. They may even know they did some cruelty, but they thought it would serve a higher purpose. Like, I'm not justifying their acts or deeds or whatnot. I'm just trying to demonstrate how fucked up the human brain is. It's very easy to maybe have the right intentions and be all wrong about it. So one needs to be really careful to judge anyone, because most of us, like, I'm speaking for myself, like, I try to jokingly say, I'm kind of like, I feel on the limit of still being allowed to move around freely. And look at all these other crazy assholes that move about freely. How can they be allowed free on the streets? I think I'm almost insane. What the heck are these people walking around? Okay, I talked enough, I think. Told you you shouldn't try to be funny, just play piano. It's better for everyone. And then I don't curse. I try not to curse anymore. I think also stuff like that. I'm thinking a lot about stuff like that. Sometimes it's funny to curse, but I think in general, yes, you can just be a person that is just juggling words to show off, but also maybe not to over-exercising political correctness, but words have a meaning, And if we start to be very careless with words, we will desensitize ourselves. Like, say, if we are used to maybe degrading ourselves, even in a jokingly manner, we normalize putting ourselves down or being without respect to ourselves. Or, I'm getting too philosophical, I should sleep. Ugh, sorry. That was kind of really rough. Trying to work a bit on this diminished scale. Oh. Okay, I see a motion that probably is more ergonomic. That's also a good thing. Try experimenting playing melodies with different or alternate fingerings. You will find that you will start to articulate these phrases differently. They will come out different because maybe you're using a different finger that has more power, or you can have maybe a different pivot, like the biomechanics change, so the tone changes. And also, the best part yet, it will make you more free to play more lines, because if you can play this with probably maybe any kind of fingering, right? I could play this with two, thumb and thing. We could do a very standard three fingers thing, like, oh. And then we can introduce another finger. But if we were to, we could also do it just with two. It will always sound different. But the cool thing is you come out at different places when you use a different fingering, because maybe your pivot point is a different one. Now you're not stuck maybe at the end of a phrase, because you have opened up the possibility maybe to tag with your thumb, and now you can continue playing the phrase. Dora teatro, Pepe. Right? And then I need to stop that. 3 days ago, I started saying right as an inflection point of a rhetorical question. I need to stop that. It reminds me of this Shakespeare masterclass that we see. And what spelling has Shakespeare chosen? Out of all the possibilities. Sorry, this Fry and Laurie bit is so funny. Gather from the buttocks. Sorry, it's so fun to try to mimic this posh British accent, I think. But you know what? It's late. I'm loud. My voice is loud. The click of the keys is loud. And I should sleep. I've talked for a very, very long time. And I don't know how much sense I made. Yeah, but you have a volume dial. My neighbors don't have a volume dial for my voice. All right? they don't get fed a processed signal. They hear me unfiltered like this. And when I get excited, I've been told I am kind of loud. We could do like kind of a little bit counterclockwise chromatic thing. Like I said earlier, it starts on E flat minor, and there's the slash. Like seriously, don't worry too much. But a slash chord is a chord where you find a slash, and behind the slash, it wants to tell you either the inversion to play it in, and sometimes it will be an additional note to play that chord over. In our case, for around midnight, got this minor 7 there. Major 7, major 7. Minor major 7, but seriously, forget these words. Just remember what it sounds like, the chord qualities. And we're gonna do chromatic walk down with this. This is probably one super simple approach to go about this. And one down, bam, bam, day, do, ba, do, ba. I really like this mixture of the harmonic and the melodic minor. I think it's one good scale practice. You get a lot of notes and interesting tensions. This turnaround, because it's not exactly the same scale, it's similar to, you hear this all the time in classical music. Like ascending, they will use the melodic minor. For some reason, I mix up the words. I know what scale is what, but the melodic and harmonic minor, I always mix them up. I call one the other and the other the other. Doesn't matter. I know what I want to play. That's enough. Like I say, it's all just words. But typically, they play this upwards. And that's also the same reason why they do it, like I say, was the diminished 6. If we look at the natural minor, or Aeolian, which is just a fancy other name for minor, natural minor, I forget it again. What is it? Melodic minor raises this degree, 2 degrees also, sorry, 2, the 5th and the 6th interval a half tone. And by that, we also create a leading tone like the diminished six does into our what's wrong with me? Come on now. 1, 2, 3, dun, 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 dun. And we just need to add one note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we want to add which? The diminished six. What is the six? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, like before, or in the melodic minor, that's why composers use this. It has the leading tone that is actually missing in the natural minor. By raising the fifth and the seventh degree of the scale, by raising these two half a step, we reintroduce the leading tone to the tonic, because in a minor context, we would refer to our minor note as the 1, right? And this is our center, this is our 1. If its brother or sister twin harmony would be the center, we would be calling G flat our 1. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. I really need to go off, I think. I was rambling on about the reintroduction of a leading tone, and also how it's a good exercise on one hand, but also that I find it really flows beautifully. Going up, da 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 da, trying to mix the minor scales is a good help for ears, I think, because we have some additional notes that we could use for some other stuff in comparison to just using natural major or minor, where we're kind of missing some notes if we are like absolutely true to the diatonic. No, that's not right. It's not exactly wrong either, but it's not what I hear or want to hear. I'm not quite sure what I hear, but I don't want to hear that. Yeah. But I like the last bit. I slipped and played it much more silent than I thought I would, and I like it much more silent. Anyway, I talked so long, I don't know what I'm doing here. I hope it was somewhat interesting. As always, I stop with these words. Happy practice. Happy creating. May the muse be with you all. Like I say, I'm just a glorified noodle of scales. I have some chops I stole from here and there, mostly probably by ear, a little bit from the last year, because I try to force myself actually to look at notes and get better at reading. I will probably not be a kind of classical pianist that does crazy real-time stuff, but reading gets better. I don't know if I did Ode to Joy. Maybe. Could be. Is that Bach? I feel so silly that I asked. Maybe I think. Hold on. Yeah, I have a couple of notes from Bach, but I can't read it. Like, seriously, just. I might be able to play some Bach if I listen long enough and play, but really, classical music is a channel to look at. If I look at a jazz lead sheet, and this is like, what is it called? Notenbüchlein für Anna Magdalena Bach. Like, sorry, like, this is, I kind of try to speak it a little bit stuck up, like, from this. No, seriously, I like classical music, and actually, I really do love Bach a lot. Maybe my favorite classical composer, one of them at least. He's certainly on the top 3 or 5 list. I think he's actually number 1, quite sure. I remember the time I believe I was still in high school. I was preparing for, I don't know, exams or whatnot. And are you familiar with Jacques Lousier? The Jacques Lousier Trio is a French superb. They are hybrid of. Well, I don't know if they are hybrid. They are just excellent musicians. Obviously, well versed in both, but they jazz up Bach. Jacques Lousier Trio plays Bach is the name of the CD, and it's amazingly good. It's really incredibly good. Do you know how good Bach is in swing time? As if Bach wasn't already good enough. It's a trio that swings. Bach. It's really, really good. Anyway, long story short, the only thing that I kind of know that is from Bach, like I know a lot of stuff that is from Bach. I can't play that, but I will probably know it by hearing, but I can play it. But I know my mom once showed me the 1 or 2 things she still remembered from her piano class when she visited me, and like she showed me just really this little thing. It's an arpeggio exercise. She forgot the rest of it, but the cool thing is I was already playing piano like then 7 years or so, and I was okay with my scales, but just from this, she kind of really just showed me this shape. From that little thing, I think I could actually fake a lot from one of these pieces from the Jacques Lousier Trio, where they play Bach, where they play this piece. I forgot what it was called, but when you turn, was that Ebony and Ivory? That is a Stevie Wonder track. I don't know which. Is that Ebony and Ivory? You find stuff everywhere. That's also why I love saying nobody ever really invents a note. I like this idea of, this saying of the statue that gets lifted from stone, or very much the Platonic idea. All ideas already existed long time ago. The soul has known them all, but it is in the state of anamnesis. It has forgotten everything. But when you understand something in the real world, you get a partial recollection. Your soul reconnects with the idea heaven, and thus you are able to recognize, well, yet the mere shadow image of that true idea, but you are able to somehow grasp it again and reconnect with it. But you know what? We really did too much intellectual bullshit today. Next time, like I say, literature was my first love. And when my friends and family found out that I might just be wasting my time in hospitality, destroying my health and my time, I started studying. Well, let's say I was enrolled. But I know how to read. I always loved to joke. They never knew what they did, teaching me how to read and write. Maybe one day, I just might use it against them. And see, I'm trying to be funny again. Let's try not to do that. See, once I shut up, the piano gets so much better. First, you can hear it, and actually I can hear too. Yeah. The mind is off again. I will go to bed now. I should have gone a long time ago. I don't know what I was talking the last hour. Maybe next time I will reduce this template further and there won't be a microphone. So we can actually do some work with the piano. I hope it wasn't too super random, not too pseudo intellectual. But I wanted to finish the thought. I love to say nobody invents a melody. Okay, maybe some people have, but I won't. I like to look at it that way. I find a melody. Maybe if I'm lucky, if I tune in correctly, all of the universe is kind. The muse might come by. And maybe then I also am maybe lucky enough. Not that the muse comes by, that's just one part of the equation. You actually need to hear the whisper of the muse. And then you need to try to transport that. A lot of good stuff needs to happen. Long story short, go find your beautiful music. It's all there. Good night, people. Thanks everybody for the kind words. Be good to yourself and others. stay healthy, take care of your loved ones, and I love sci-fi. I think maybe probably one of the best things you could say is Mr. Spock's greeting, live long and prosper. I'll just add my very generic rest. Just groove it and stay funky. May the muse be with you. Happy practice, happy creating. Catch you later. Peace.